people in the community has kept saying that this character right here is Michael, but some other people say that he actually is Phone Guy. Well, I am going to prove this theory with some bit of evidence from using the survival logbook, a gameplay footage from FNAF 1's Night 4, and some of the Fazbear Fright stories. I'm going to be using these as evidence to prove on why this character is actually Phone Guy and not Michael. So without any further ado, I am going to explain how Phone Bully can work with the story. Without any further delays, let's get into this video right away. So where do we even start with this? Well, we know for a fact that from the Night 4 phone call from the first game, we hear Phone Guy's calls, and it almost sounded like that he was in trouble. He did say that it was a bad night for him. And during that phone call, we hear Foxy knocking, Chica and Bonnie moaning, Freddy's music box, and finally, there was Golden Freddy's jump scared at the end of the phone call. This was before Phone Guy was cut out, and on Night 5, we hear some garbling in the background of the phone call instead of Phone Guy. This implies that Phone Guy died, and without any further ado, I'm gonna show you the evidence that Golden Freddy did kill Phone Guy. But first, I'm gonna show you a clip that Golden Freddy did kill the Phone Guy, and the garbling in the background is his.
I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm gonna try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
According to that phone call, that was the last time we heard him. And I know the Night 5 does have a phone call, but it's a garbling sounded phone call. And Phone Guy's calls in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 doesn't count because Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is actually a prequel to the first game, and I'm pretty sure many of you already know that. Anyways, we are going to look at the first evidence that actually supports this theory, and that is the survival logbook. Let's get into it right now. Many people has used this survival logbook as evidence for Mike Bully. Maybe it's because that it says the logbook belongs to Mike, and on every single page there's Foxy. However, this can be disproved. Let me explain. If you look at it very closely, you can clearly tell that it was originally called the security logbook. This means that this logbook was created by Phone Guy to help the guards guide through of what they need to do for the rest of the week so they can become professional security guards at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The thing interesting in this book is that we see Freddy on the stage and we see the writings in black text saying, "Laugh and the world laughs with you, cry and you cry alone." We see that Michael wrote this in red pen, getting very offended by this by writing the words, "not funny." How is he so sensitive by that? There is also another page in the logbook showing that Freddy and Foxy are in class, with Foxy being the teacher and Freddy being the student. And there's also another thing of Freddy wearing a badge. Do you see the parallels here? Freddy is wearing a security guard badge, implying that the bite victim worked at Freddy's as a security guard. And one last thing to point out, on the first page of chapter 4, there is a phrase saying, "What are we still doing here?" and Foxy making that look. On the second page, it asks of who people you miss the most and died in a grisly work accident. We know for a fact that Foxy, or at least Phone Guy, died on night 4 in the first game. So yeah, this proves that the Foxy masked brother is Phone Guy. Now, let's move on to the other things that Phone Guy is Foxy Bro. Also, one last thing. Many people also pointed out that the Foxy Bro, or I'm sorry, Foxy, has a magazine that says Screw Bolts and Hairpins. Michael didn't get that. He didn't go down to Sister Location because he saw something in a magazine. He did it because his father told him to go down there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the survival logbook part. Let's move on to the other parts that made the Foxy masked brother Phone Guy. The stories I'm going to be using for this video are Blackbird, The New Kid, Kids at Play, Pizza Kit, The Breaking Wheel, and Hide and Seek. These are the stories that are going to hold the most evidence for Phone Bully. Now, because of this, we should get straight into the video. In this story, the main character, Noel, wanted to create a project for their class. So him and Sam decided to come up with an original idea. And Noel wanted to make a horror theme, saying that it needed more blood. However, Noel and Sam came up working together by making a black bird. In this story, the black bird would not rest until Noel confessed his darkest secrets. So, because of that, Noel admitted to Sam that he was once in high school with a group that bullied a girl named Christine. Sam think it was not funny, and it wasn't fun at all. However, some people laughed because of Sam had long legs. Anyways, during this story, Sam almost got hit by a train, and Noel felt guilty about this for causing his friend to get hit. And throughout the rest of the story, Blackbird was haunting him in his dreams every night until he went and searched to apologize to the girl. And once he did that, after apologizing to Sam a bunch of times, the Blackbird stopped haunting him, and it turns out that Sam was still alive. For some reason, he survived the train track. This story implies that Golden Freddy was torturing the older brother after the bite. And because of that, it made it implied that Sam and the bite victim both survived an accident. And Blackbird affecting Noel's dreams has nothing to do with the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 gameplay. I thought it did at first until I realized that Sam survived, just like the bite victim did. So yeah, and at the end of the story, Sam says Blackbird would make you tell. So yeah, that's enough for this story. Now, anyways, I forgot to mention that Noel used to bully Christine until he apologizes for her weight, a group of bully that he was in. This does not, in fact, support phone bullying. This actually supports the fact of Golden Freddy torturing Noel, and the bite victim survived the bite. Anyways, let's move on. The main character, Devin, was very jealous about the new kid named Kelsey, about how popular he is, and then he accused of him of being a robot, so he decided to prank him by bringing him to the old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that got run down, and put Kelsey inside of the spring-lock yellow bear suit. But I think Kelsey already knows of what's going on, so he puts the suit on himself. And because of this, he got spring lock. Devin left him until a few days later, he went to go check on him. But before this, Devin had a nightmare of Kelsey coming back as a zombie. Now, this does not support Bully Dreamer. This supports Mike Victim because of Kelsey returning as a zombie and getting killed into a springlock suit. But we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about phone bully. Anyways, when Devin went to the suit, he realized that the kid in the suit is not Kelsey, but rather a kid with curly black hair. It bit on Devin's arm, and it was very painful. At the end of the story, Kelsey came back to life and went to another school. This, again, implies that Phone Guy was killed by Golden Freddy, and the bite victim survived an accident. Him and Kelsey both survived an accident, actually. So, because of that story is done, we're gonna move on to the other stories that implies that phone bully is canon to the story. In this story, the main character Joel has been counting down the days to quit his job at his family garden center. His dad was a bit strict and mean, but it's business. However, on one of the nights, a kid named Caleb was walking down the streets and Joel's truck accidentally hit him. Joel felt guilty because he thought he killed the kid, so he decides to help with the police with the search. But getting this strange feeling when people reminded him about the accident, this weird thing starts playing in his head repeatedly, where a truck's tire starts to go running. However, an unnatural force was slowly starting to kill him. And then at the end of the story, he turned into a traffic sign. And he's been followed everywhere from the kids at play sign. But it turns out that at the end of the story, the kid Caleb was alive. He just jumped in and was trapped by a bunch of rocks. Because of that, the kid was fine and the thing had a happy ending. Well, except for Joel, that turned into a traffic sign and Joel died. So, yeah. Now that's things out of the way, let's move on to Pizza Kit. In this story, Peyton almost caused his best friend Marley to fall into the pizza vat on their field trip. But when she did, Peyton felt so guilty that her best friend was pushed into the pizza vat. Falled into the pizza vat, and she felt guilty. Peyton has been grieving over her friend's death. And because of that, she was completely traumatized. However, a subnatural force was slowly starting to kill her in her nightmares. And because of that, she was slowly starting to die. However, at the end of the story, it turns out that Marley was still alive. She was just hiding away from the world. And because of that, Peyton dies and Marley survives. So, yeah, that's it for that story. Let's move on to the breaking wheel. In this story, there is a bully named Julius, and he enjoys picking on kids. However, the protagonist of the story was very angry that Julius was picking on kids, but not even picking on him. So he decides to get revenge by trapping Julius inside of an animatronic that just spring locks itself. And when someone was touching the remote for the protagonist's endosuit, it slowly started to kill him. Julius was very upset, and he was going to get the kid back eventually. Now, this story actually parallels on the older brother, where the older brother bullies his younger brother, and Cassidy gets really upset because of how he treats the bite victim. So she slowly starts killing him when he got the job as phone guy. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Now, let's move on to the last story that supports phone bully, and that story is You'll Have to Wait. In this story, Toby's older brother Connor had worked at Freddy's before. It was supposed to be like his side job when he was still in high school. However, when Toby started working at Freddy's, Connor retired before he started working there. This pretty much matches up of Phone Guy and Mike Schmidt, where Phone Guy leaves tape recordings for us of what we are going to do before he died by Golden Freddy. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for hide and seek. Now, let's wrap up the video. So, in conclusion, the story of Blackbird, the new kid, Kids at Play, Pizza Kit, The Breaking Wheel, and Hide and Seek had all supported the idea of the bite victim surviving the bite and the Phone Guy being the Foxy masked brother. It should be very clear that Phone Guy was killed by Golden Freddy because back in 1983, Golden Freddy, the Foxy masked brother, was treating the bite victim horribly and dragged him to the restaurant that he doesn't like. So yeah, I hope this video will make you understand on why Phone Bully is pretty much canon to this point. And before you say that, but Phone Guy sounds like that he is in his 30s, even when FNAF 3 came out. Well, let me take a reminder of you. Scott Cawthon was the only voice actor that voiced Phone Guy. So, yeah. Also, during FNAF 3, Phone Guy was reading off a script as like he is helping Purple Guy cover the restaurant. But in FNAF 2 and 1, he just says, in each phone call. So yeah, this is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on that post notifications, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.